Welcome back to Entrepreneur Unlimited. I'm your host, Tani, and today I want to talk about whether or not you should pivot in your business when you're hitting a slump or persevere, and how to make some of those tough business decisions. So what do you do when your business isn't hitting the mark or performing how you hope? Maybe you're not hitting those goals that you set for yourself this year and you're feeling like you're failing. Do you double down and keep doing what you're doing? Do you tweak the plan, or do you make a bold pivot? As entrepreneurs, we all face make or break moments. And as I've said before, you really have to be resilient and ready to make changes as you go. So today I want to break down how to figure out what's working, what's not, and then how to pivot your business without risking everything. Honestly, some days I'm just like, shut it down. But then I remember that, the stakes are high, I owe some money, and I've made some commitments that I can't back out of, and I'm sure you can relate to that as well. Plus, what would that say for myself if I just gave up when times are hard, right? I want to make it. I want to see my goals become reality. If you've ever felt stuck between pushing forward with your business or switching gears, I'm with you. I feel you. And this episode is for you. And really, the perfect segue into the new year. Should you make changes or should you stay the course? That's always the big question. When there are new beginnings and it's a new year, we all feel like we want that new. So we're like, do I start something completely different or do I stick to what I'm doing? And I'm telling you that the best answer to that will depend on a few different factors. So let's get into it. When I started my first business, Digital Unlimited, I had so many goals and so many ideas in mind of what I wanted Digital Unlimited to be. But as some of you know, if you've been following my journey, it's really been put on hold, probably indefinitely, but it's because I decided to switch gears into Entrepreneur Unlimited, right? So as I've been teaching and coaching and doing these workshops, the tweaks came from moving more into what I love to do and what feels good for me. Okay, I preach about that a lot and I believe in it. So Digital Unlimited has shifted. I haven't necessarily given up on it, but it has evolved into something that's more me. And even at Brood, I constantly have to look at the data to evaluate what's working and what's not working. And I've also tried things to increase traffic, like I got my liquor license, I've gotten a movie license, I've added new menu items. So there are a lot of things that go into business, and it's not just like give up one and move on to the next. It might just be that what you're doing right now, you need to take a hard look at it, and maybe it just needs to evolve, or maybe you need to switch gears a little bit. You are not always the same person now that you were a year ago, right? I hope. And I say that because I hope that we're always growing and trying to be the best versions of ourselves. So at this point, there will be things in your business that are working that you don't need to change. You don't need to touch, right? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But there might be things that you need to change or that you just need to tweak slightly. So I want to help you evaluate where your business is right now and then decide when to pivot if you need to pivot and manage the risks of that change, right? I want to help you feel more confident in deciding if and when you should make changes. I recently developed an entrepreneur success planner as well to help guide this process. Right now, I'm running a Black Friday sale. It's over tomorrow at midnight, where if you grab the planner, you can get that fee off of my 3-day workshop in January. If you're so inclined, you can head to my website. I'll link the website in the description. It's really a guide and a roadmap to help you through a lot of what I'm going to talk about and increase your confidence and your path in your business. So if you're interested, grab that before midnight tomorrow to get that credit toward my 3-day bootcamp in January. Okay, I know that data can be boring. Okay, not a lot of people love to look at numbers or trends, but if you're not looking at the back end, you're not really seeing the bigger picture. Just because a couple of people tell you you're doing a great job doesn't mean that you're doing a great job, right? You have to be able to monitor trends and what is actually working for you versus what's not working for you. I can tell you right now that I do this for myself on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I love looking at numbers. I want to see every day where we're at. Most of the time I'm looking at labor or whether we're up or down, and I try to make notes on why. So is it the weather? Is it the environment, the mood, right? Like a lot of things can shift people's habits. That could be economy. It could be things like the election. Sometimes a shift in just the world climate can make all of the difference. So you want to see any peaks or valleys or spikes or declines in your data so that you can make decisions going forward. Right now, I'm at a point where I'm looking at what I want to do next year. Do I want to cut certain things? Do I want to add certain things? I know I need to make changes, and right now I'm setting myself up to make those changes come January 1st. So with data, you want to look at things like, are you bringing in money? Are your expenses eating away at your profits? Are sales consistent? Are they growing? Are they declining? Where is your money going? Is it labor? Have you hired employees, or do you have an assistant? Have you hired a virtual assistant that maybe isn't performing as well as you had hoped they would? Maybe you have too much inventory, so you need to decide on how to decrease that inventory. Maybe you need to run a sale, or like right now would be timely, right? It would be a Black Friday sale. Maybe you're running a seasonal sale. Maybe you're spending too much money on marketing and not seeing a return on your investment. And that means that pausing your campaigns to work out those snags might be better for you in the long run. You also want to look at customer feedback and demand on certain things, right? If you're not looking at the data, how do you know what customers want and what they don't want? Are they happy? Are they returning? One of the good things about the system I work with is that it tells me how many return customers I have in a day versus new customers. And it goes per day, per week, per month, per quarter, per year, etc. So it's really nice to see that I'm about 50-50. I have just as many returning customers as I have new customers, which means that my business is still growing. So people are still coming back, but I'm also still reaching new people, which is really, really helpful data when I'm looking at marketing strategies. I also want to see if there's specific products or services that people rave about or talk about the most versus ones that they don't really care about or they ignore, right? I can see this by monitoring Google reviews, mentions on Instagram or Facebook. I can see side conversations in the comment sections. So, and also at the shop, right? I hear from my staff what people are talking about, and that helps me decide whether or not something is worth keeping or not. Not just externally, we need to check in with ourselves as well, right? We want to know, does this business or project still excite me? Does it still give me that feel-good feeling that makes me want to pursue this long term? Are you overworking? Are you feeling burnt out? Do you need a break? A lot of entrepreneurs right now are talking about taking breaks. It's the end of the year. We all need time to rest and recharge and reset, especially as we go into a new year and we're going in with like so much hope and so many goals and all this drive, right? But to get there, we need to rest. So be real with yourself. Do a gut check. What's the one thing you know isn't working and maybe you've been avoiding? Maybe that is being burnt out, or maybe you need to let someone go. Maybe you need to cut a product or service. And this is a big question that I have to ask myself too. If I wasn't already invested in this, would I start it again today at this point? And for me, the answer is hell yeah. I would do this again in a heartbeat. It still feels really good even when it's hard. Okay, and that's important to ask yourself, but you got to be real with yourself. So gut check time. Does this still feel good to you? Is this something you still want to invest your time, your energy, your mental capacity, all of that into? If the answer is yes, then let's go. When we're making changes, we don't want to break the bank. We can't go and redecorate every month. We can't go and do renovations every month. We can't buy new equipment every month. We can't hire someone new every month. We have to make small tweaks, okay? Small little changes lead to big changes. And then as we start to see our profits increase and we have those resources, then we can start to make bigger changes. Small changes that you can make are things like pricing, targeting a new audience. Maybe you're broadening your marketing campaign, or you're just adjusting your marketing strategies. So maybe you're adding a new platform, removing a platform, changing the media, changing the visual assets, or changing the copy. And then big changes are things like adding a brand new product or service or shifting your business model entirely. So for example, if you had a brick and mortar store and you were finding that your sales are now jumping online, then maybe you're going to shift your entire business to an online model, right? And save yourself rent at a brick and mortar store. Things like that are pretty big changes. So maybe you don't want to do that overnight, but something to consider when you're moving into a new year or you're looking at your next couple of years and what changes you might make. If you want to minimize financial risk, then test ideas before you fully commit, right? Do a soft launch, run some surveys, ask your clients what they think, test a pilot program or do a special. A personal example for me at the shop is I started doing a sub-lunch catering service for a local school. With all of that extra inventory on hand, I decided to run a weekly special and do one of my subs. The meatball sub, assorted sub, turkey sub, whatever. It took off and it was so popular that it was actually outshining my other menu items. So what I decided to do instead was just introduce subs to my menu. I'm already getting sub product anyway. I'm already doing the catering. I already need to have the product on hand. Some of the stuff we had already. So I decided to add it to the menu and it's been a huge hit. That was a minimal financial risk because I was already investing in the product and all I did was take it from a special because I learned that the audience really enjoyed it and made it a permanent fixture on our menu. So in that way, I tested the idea before I fully committed and it ended up being a win. Another thing that I do, and you can do this through your bank account or your financial institution, or if you have a point of sale system that allows you to do this, which mine does, I can take a percentage of sales and pop it into a separate account. Not only is that really good for me to put money aside and know that things like taxes are being taken care of, my rent is being taken care of, and I don't really have to think of it because it's not money that is going into my account every day. But you could set up an account like that where you put 5% of your sales aside, and after a month, you have a chunk of money to use on trying something different, like a new marketing campaign. Or you can put your time and energy into creating a product to see if it works and test the market, right? So there's different ways that you can do that with minimal financial risk because it's already money you're making. You're just setting it aside so that you can go and tap into it at the end of the month or a couple months or whatever you decide. This is also a way that, managing obligations and commitments that you already have won't be affected because you're just taking a percentage of your sales. You're not taking a whole bunch of money all at once to put on something that you're not sure if it's going to work or not, because you still need to handle your fixed costs, right? Like rent or payroll, hydro, things like that. So while you're trying something new, starting an account that takes a small percentage of your sales is a great way to do that. And the hard pill here to swallow is that anytime you make a change, it's never risk-free, right? If you're going to make a change, if you're going to try something, I can't guarantee, nobody can guarantee that this is going to work. So asking yourself before you try to launch something new, if this fails, what's plan B, is a great place to start. Don't just dive into it and start spending all this money and doing all this stuff if you don't know what you're going to do if you fail. You have to be mentally, financially, and physically prepared for that. Every time I've introduced something new to the shop, I've always been a little bit nervous about it, especially with the financial risk that usually comes with the things that I want to do, like my liquor license or getting a license to play movies or, spending money on a new product or service. There are risks, right? But for the most part, I've listened to my customers, I've followed my vision, I've gone through my own journey of what feels good to me and what I want to focus on. And if I stay in that lane, I feel like it always pays off. Even if it's not a huge success up front, it's a little step toward my bigger goals. And that in itself is a win. Even with the Entrepreneur Unlimited Success Planner, I put a lot of time and energy into writing that and mapping it out and creating this roadmap. And it takes time to spread the word to be like, hey, I have this really great tool. I think it would benefit you. I'm not expecting to get thousands of people opting in to grab this planner. I put a lot of time and effort into it up front, and I hope that eventually it'll pay off, right? It's the hope that eventually all the hard work that you put into something is going to pay off. That's what really guides us, and that's what we need to hang on to. The reality of it is that it's not always going to work out like that, right? We're not always going to get rewarded for the hard work that we put in, but we can hope and we can try and we can look at the data. We can see what people are responding to and we can lean into that or try something different. If you're data driven, then start with research and planning. It really helps you make informed decisions because the outcome is never guaranteed, but at least you can have some information to back up your decision. If you're not really data driven, then I encourage you to at least understand the basics. So you can look at the back end of your website, you can look at the back end of your social platforms, you understand the basics of things like Google My Business to see how people are interacting and reacting to your brand. So just know the basics, but also really importantly, you need to trust your vision. No one knows your business better than you do. I remind you of this in my first episode. Your creative vision matters. And if you've done the work to map out your vision and your why, that big why, the what is guiding you in this journey, let that motivate you. And remember that big business peaks don't happen overnight. Sometimes they do, but then you're always going to have moments where you feel like nothing is working. I am in one of those moments right now. I'm living one of those moments right now where I feel like I'm putting in all this work and I've done all this hard work this year and it's not paying off the way that I thought it would. But as soon as I step back and I think about it, I am exactly where I hoped I'd be years ago. My vision evolves all the time and I always want to get there quicker. But if I think about where I was even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, this is what I envisioned back then. And my vision, yes, keeps changing. And I always hope that I get somewhere faster. But I continue to trust my vision and know that not everything happens when you want it to happen. Sometimes it doesn't even happen when you need it to happen, but it will always happen on time. And I trust that. I hope you trust that and don't give up on that big vision, those big goals that you had that got you here in the first place. If you have to make tweaks, great. If you have to change direction a little bit, awesome. But if you've been really clear about what your vision is from the beginning, then trust that you're on the right path. When you're building confidence in your decision making, whether you're making small changes or big changes, involving a mentor or a partner or a trusted friend to sanity check your ideas is a great idea. And honestly, I would be happy to be this for you. I have gone years without a steady mentor and I've had to go it alone a lot. It's very lonely and isolating to be an entrepreneur in a space without a lot of entrepreneurs around you. And it's not that my friends and family don't understand. It's not that they don't listen. It's not that they don't empathize. But when you don't have someone who's going through it, it can feel really lonely. So I know how it feels to need to bounce ideas off of someone doing what you do or parallel to what you do. So if you need someone to listen or just want to, run an idea or just get something off your chest, shoot me a message. I'm always happy to just be there to support because I know how it feels to feel like it's just you treading water and getting really tired and feeling burnt out. So if you need someone to listen, shoot me a message. I'm on Instagram at Tawny Unlimited, or you can email me at info@tawnyhypo.com. I promise that I'll do my best to be the idea bouncer that you need. Being in business and making changes will always come with some fear, but we want to reframe what that fear looks like. Remind yourself that every failure brings valuable lessons. Mistakes are lessons. Don't forget that. You're learning, you're growing, you're evolving, and that's business. I get stuck in this mindset a lot too, where I feel like I should already know this. But why should I already know this? I've never done this before. I should not already know this. I can have an idea because I've done some research and I've looked at the data and I've listened to people and I've talked about my ideas. I've gotten some great advice, things like that, but I'll never really know the outcome unless I go through it. So don't be so hard on yourself. And, as I'm talking to you, I'm also talking to me because we all need this reminder. Mistakes are lessons. You don't know what you don't know. You're learning, you're growing. And if you give up now, you'll never know what could come out of all this hard work and perseverance. So to wrap this up, here's what I want you to do. Evaluate your business honestly. What's working? What's not working? Be honest with yourself. Look at the data. Listen to the people who are buying into what you do, because they care. They want to keep buying into what you do. So listen to them. And the people who don't, here's the thing I'll say about that. Not everybody is your person. Not every customer is your customer. But sometimes someone will offer you some valuable information. Even if they don't remain a customer, there is something that you could learn from what they say or the feedback that they leave. So be honest with yourself and tap into that social listening, right? What are people saying about your business or your brand? Test small pivots before making big leaps. Okay, make small changes, introduce something as a special, run some surveys, ask for feedback. And once you have a good idea, once you've tested the water a little bit and you feel like, yeah, I think this could work, then take the big step. Understand that even calculated risks can come with setbacks, but they are a part of growth. If you don't risk, if you don't try, if you don't fail, you'll never know what hits, what lands. Okay? So calculated risks are a part of growth. Entrepreneurship is all about growth. Sometimes growth means changing direction, right? We evolve. As we become the best versions of ourselves, our business will naturally evolve. Stick to what's working, try new things, and be willing to fail. You have the power to make the best decision for your future by being honest with yourself and by looking at what's working, what's not working, and making changes as needed. I mentioned before that I created the Entrepreneur Success Planner. I believe that it can help structure these evaluations and help guide you as you move into the new year. You can grab a copy through the link in the description below, but also I'd love for you to send me a message or email me with your questions. I want to hear about times when you have pivoted in your business and maybe tried some new things, whether it worked or it didn't. And let's keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're inspired to take that hard look at your business so that you set yourself up for the best feel-good 2025. Until next time, stay connected.